Hello, tech enthusiasts. Welcome back to my channel. If you've ever wondered if it's possible to find someone's location just by using their email, then today's video is just for you. I'm going to show you an amazing application that not only fetches the live location by an email, but also gives you real-time updates about the distance. And guess what? It's all powered by Firebase. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive right into it. Here's our stunning app interface. I designed this app to make it super user-friendly. Simply enter the email address of the person whose location you want to track, and let's see it in action. As I enter the email here, the app connects to Firebase, retrieves the data, and displays the live location and the exact distance right here on the map. The updates are live, and the data is fetched securely and efficiently. Setting up this project is very straightforward. First, make sure you have Flutter installed on your system. Then, download the source code from the link below. Let's walk through the setup process together. Today, I'm going to show you how to implement a GitHub project in Android Studio step by step. Let's get started. Step 1. Download GitHub zip file. First, go to the GitHub repository of the project you want to use. You'll see a green Code button on the top right. Click on it, and from the drop-down, select Download Zip. Now that we've successfully downloaded our GitHub project zip file, let's move on to the next steps, opening the file in the Explorer and extracting it. Follow along. First, open your File Explorer, navigate to the Downloads folder, or wherever your browser saves downloaded files by default. Here you will see the zip file we just downloaded from GitHub. Next, right-click on the zip file. From the context menu, select Extract All. This will open a new window asking where you want to extract the files. In the extraction window, you can choose the destination folder where you want to save the extracted files. For now, let's extract it in the Downloads folder itself. The extraction process will start and may take a few moments depending on the size of the project. Once completed, you will see a new folder with the same name as the zip file. Open this folder to ensure all the files are correctly extracted. You should see the project structure with all its files and directories. Great! We've successfully extracted the zip file. In the next step, we'll open Android Studio and import this project. Let's get started. First, open Android Studio. If you don't have it installed yet, make sure to download and install it first. On the Welcome screen, click on Create a new Flutter project. Next, choose Flutter application and click Next. Now, you need to configure your new Flutter project. In the Project Name field, enter a name for your project. In my case, I'll name it Live Location v3. Then click Create. Android Studio will now create your new Flutter project. This might take a few moments, so be patient. Sees the project is created, you will see the main project structure on the left and the main.dart file opened in the editor. Our Flutter project is created. Now, let's import the necessary files from the GitHub project into our new Flutter project. Follow along. First, right-click on the lib folder in your project directory. From the context menu, select Show in Explorer. This will open the File Explorer in the project folder. Here, you will see the lib folder. We need to replace this with the lib folder from our GitHub project. Delete the lib folder by right-clicking on it and selecting Delete. Next, open a new tab in the File Explorer. You can do this by pressing Ctrl-T or by clicking on File and selecting Add a new tab. In the new tab, navigate to the Downloads folder and find the extracted GitHub project folder. Open this folder, and inside it, you will see another folder named Live Location or similar. Open the Live Location folder, and you will see all the necessary files and directories, including the lib folder. Copy the lib folder by right-clicking on it and selecting Copy. Go back to the first tab in the File Explorer where your Flutter project is open. Right-click inside the project folder and select Paste. Now switch back to Android Studio. You should see the new lib folder with all the necessary directories and Dart files. Our application contains authentication and Firebase initialization, so the first order of business is to connect Firebase with our application. Without this connection, the app simply won't function. Let's dive into integrating Firebase into our Flutter project. First, open up your browser and head to firebase.google.com. Once the page loads, scroll down and click on Get Started. Now, you're greeted with a screen to create a new project. Though you might see some of my existing projects listed, we're going to start fresh. Click on Create a Project. For the project name, I'm aligning it with our Android Studio project name, so I'll call it Live Location V3. Select your account. I usually go with the default Firebase account. Then hit Create Project. Keep in mind, this process will take a moment. Good things come to those who wait. All right, your project is successfully created. Now, let's switch back to Android Studio. Here, I'll use the Flutter CLI for Firebase integration. For those curious about Flutter CLI, it's a powerful command line tool that helps manage Firebase settings directly from your terminal. Super handy for rapid setup without leaving your development environment. If you want to see more about how to use Flutter CLI in your projects, drop a comment below, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Links in the description. Now in Android Studio, open up the terminal. You'll see it at the bottom of the screen. Make sure it's showing your project's path. Type in Flutterfire configure and hit enter. This command fetches all Firebase projects associated with your account. You'll see a list of Firebase projects, including the Live Location V3 we just created. Use your keyboard's up and down arrow keys to navigate to it, then press enter. Next, you'll be asked which platforms your configuration should support. Since we're focusing on Android, I'll unselect the other platforms using the space key and then confirm by pressing enter again. Our project is now successfully connected to Firebase. Notice that a new file, firebaseoptions.dart, is added to your project. This contains all necessary Firebase initialization configurations. Let's double-check everything on the Firebase website. Go back to your browser, hit refresh on the Firebase project page, and you should see your Android application listed under the project. Next, go back to Android Studio. However, you might notice some errors. This is normal because we need to adjust some settings and dependencies. Let's fix these in the next steps. First, open the extracted GitHub project folder. Inside this folder, locate the pubspec.yaml file and open it. Scroll down to the dependencies section. Here you will see all the dependencies required for this project. Copy all the dependencies listed here. Now go back to Android Studio. In your project structure, locate the pubspec.yaml file and open it. Scroll down to the dependencies section in this file and paste all the copied dependencies here. You might get an error due to incorrect spacing. Fix the spacing by ensuring all lines are correctly indented. Once the spacing is correct, the error should be resolved. Tap on pubget. This process might take a few moments. Why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bugs. After the pubget process is completed, you should see that the errors in main.dart are resolved. However, there might still be some errors in other files. Next, go to the login page. If you see an error in the import statements, it might be due to the project name. Change the project name in the import statements to match our current project name. For example, if it says Live Location V2, change it to Live Location V3. After fixing the import statements, check the registration page. If there are errors related to missing files like testcomponent.dart and homepage.dart, simply delete these import statements since we don't have these files in our lib folder. Once you delete the unnecessary imports, the errors should be gone. Now we have a clean project with no errors. The final step is to run the project on a device to ensure everything works correctly. Before we can dive into running our application, there's an essential setup step that ensures our app is compatible with the latest Android standards. Let's navigate to the app-level build.gradle file to make a few critical adjustments. This file dictates fundamental configurations for your app build and you can find it nestled under the Android folder, then within the app subdirectory. Once you open the build.gradle file, let's scroll through it until we locate the Android block. This section holds the keys to our app's building environment. Here, you'll want to update the Compile SDK version to 34. This ensures our app is built against the latest Android SDK, which is crucial for leveraging new features and optimizations. After updating the Compile SDK version, let's not overlook the Min SDK version. Scroll down just a bit more within the same block to find it. We'll change this setting to 21. Setting the minimum SDK version to 21 means our app will support a wide range of Android devices, going back to those running Android 5.0. This balance maximizes our app's potential user base while allowing us to use relatively modern Android features. After adjusting the Compile SDK version and Min SDK version, there's one more critical update we need to address. Let's change the Kotlin version used in our project. Navigate to the project-level build.gradle file, which is located within the Android folder. Open this build.gradle file and look for the build script section. Inside the build script, you'll find the ext block, which houses our Kotlin version. Update Kotlin version to 1.9.20 to ensure that our project utilizes the latest stable release of Kotlin, which brings various improvements and bug fixes that are essential for a smooth development process. After updating the Kotlin version, you might notice an error popping up in the dependencies section. To resolve this, right-click on the class path where the error appears and select Show Context Actions. From the options that appear, choose to change the class path version to 7.3.1. With these changes implemented, our project is now up to date with the latest standards and ready for further development. With these changes in place, we're all set to test our application on an actual device. Go ahead and connect a device to your development environment. If you're using an emulator, ensure it's configured and launched. Now, from within Android Studio, select your device from the Target drop-down menu. It's time to bring our project to life. Hit the Run button and watch as Android Studio compiles and installs our app. Keep an eye on the console for any build messages or errors. Now let's proceed to run our application on an actual device. Here, you can see my device screen displayed. As we launch the application, you'll notice that it's successfully building. Once built, the option to install appears. Let's tap on Install. After the installation and when we run the application, an issue pops up. The Google and Apple images aren't showing up. To resolve this, we need to ensure the images are correctly set up in our project. Let's head back to the GitHub project file and find the Assets folder. Go ahead and copy this entire folder. Next, return to Android Studio. Here in the project directory, paste the Assets folder. Now, if you look inside this folder, you'll see it contains the two images we need. Open the pubspec.yaml file and scroll down to the Assets section. Here, you'll need to uncomment the assets and delete the paths provided in the template. Replace them with the path to our newly added assets. Once you've updated the paths, run pubget to ensure these assets are recognized by your Flutter project. After this, restart the application. Now, you can see that the earlier error is resolved, and our application is running successfully, displaying all the intended images and content. Now that our application is successfully running, the first thing you'll need to do is register as a new user. Click on the Register Now button to open our registration page. Here, enter a username and a password, and then re-enter the password to confirm it. After you've entered all the required information, click on the Sign Up button to complete your registration. But wait, it looks like we're unable to register. This is because we haven't yet set up user authentication in Firebase, which is essential for managing users in our app. Let's rectify this. Navigate to the Firebase console for the project we created earlier. On the left-hand side, click on the Build option, then find and select Authentication. Once you're in the Authentication section, click on Get Started. You'll be presented with various sign-in methods. Go to the Email Password section and click on it. Here, simply enable both options, Enable for Email Sign-up and Enable for Email Sign-in, and then click on Save. Now, email and password authentication is enabled, allowing users to register and sign into your app using their email addresses and passwords. Return to Android Studio and restart the application to apply these updates. Now, when users register, they will be able to successfully sign up. Once the registration is complete, they will be redirected to the map page, ready to start exploring the app's features. Here, as our map page is open, we're diving into a common issue you might encounter while working with maps in a mobile application. Yes, you guessed it, we're on the map page, but hey, where's the map? Turns out it's a permissions issue. So let's get that fixed right now. First things first, we need to ensure our app has the necessary permissions to display the map correctly. To do this, we're going to modify the Android manifest.xml file. Navigate to the Android manifest.xml file by going to the Android directory, then app/main, and there you'll find the Android manifest.xml file. Let's open it up. Here in the manifest file, we need to add some crucial permissions that allow our app to access the device's location services. We've added 4 permissions here: Find location and course location for precise and general location data. Foreground service, because our app might need to use location services while running in the foreground. And background location, to access location even when the app is not in the foreground. Make sure to spell background correctly to avoid any errors. After adding these permissions, save the file. Now, all that's left is to restart the app to apply these changes. And there you have it. After granting the proper permissions and restarting the app, our map should now be visible. All right, let's put our app to the test and see if it's working correctly across different devices. Here's my second device, where I've already registered, so I'll just log in to move things along. I'm entering my email and password here. All right, let's hit the Sign In button. Perfect, we're now on the map screen. Let's see if everything is functioning as it should. I'll use this floating action button to check the location of the first device. I just enter the email associated with the first device and tap Submit. Oh, it looks like we've got error. The location of the second device isn't showing up. This is not what we expected, so let's troubleshoot this issue together. Looks like we've run into a hiccup with storing and retrieving user data, which is crucial for our location tracking features. Let's solve this by setting up Firestore in our Firebase project, where we can securely store and manage user location data. Here we are back in the Firebase console. Navigate to the Build section and find Firestore Database. Let's click on it. Here you see the option Create Database. Let's click on it to get started. We're continuing with the default settings for now, so simply click Next. Now we're asked whether to start in production mode or test mode. For our purposes, we'll select production mode, which comes with stricter default security rules suitable for live environments. Click on Create. Our Firestore database is now created. Next, we need to set up the correct rules for storing user data. Navigate to the Rules tab. Here in the Rules tab, we're going to replace the default rules with the specific rules we need. These rules ensure our app functions correctly and securely. Let's go back to our GitHub project folder, where I've stored the necessary Firebase rules. Here's the Firebase rules folder. I'll open this folder using Visual Studio to make edits more conveniently. Here you can see the rules we require. I'm going to copy all these rules. Now, let's head back to the Firebase console. Paste the copied rules here in the Rules section. After ensuring everything is correct, click on Publish to save these rules. With the rules published, our Firestore database is fully configured and ready to handle our app's data securely and efficiently. Now that we've set up our database and updated the rules, let's head back to Android Studio to continue. After updating the rules in Firebase, make sure to rerun the app on both devices. After running the app, we'll enter an email using the floating action button to check if our app is working. This is to see if it can display the location of the other device. Let's hit the Submit button. Here, on my first device, I've entered the email and submitted it. You can see it's showing the location of my second device. Now let's check on my other device. Now I'm entering the email of the first device into the second device. As you can see, the location is also visible here. Both devices are successfully showing the respective locations. Our app is now successfully working. If you encounter any errors or problems during setup, you can message me on Instagram. The link is in the description. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in the next video. If you want any particular feature, let me know in the comments below.